Good morning, everyone. My name is Julie Feast and I'm Chief Executive of EDT, and welcome to all of you today. It's lovely to see you all again, and I hope you've enjoyed the first 2 days that we've been working with you, concentrating first of all on GFG and then GE. Today's events are going to be very much focused around cybersecurity, a really key area and a growth area within the STEM sector. And today we're going to hear from Dr. Ismini from De Montfort University, talking to us about cybersecurity, about social engineering, which she's going to introduce and explain a little bit more. And we'll hear some more throughout the day from employers, from specialists, both from cyber and also from more broadly into tech. So if you're not quite sure whether it's cyber for you or a career in technology, there's going to be something for you here today in terms of the various insights and career advice. We finished the day with a live Q&A with some employers across a whole host of different organisations who have roles within cybersecurity. And what I suggest you do throughout the day, both in terms of the information you hear this morning and this afternoon, if you think you've got a question, then please enter it in the Q&A section at the time that you think about it. They won't get lost. We can save them throughout the day, and we'll save them all up for the live session at the end of the day. So feel free to think about and put those questions in as you think about them as we progress over the sessions. So without further ado, I'll pass across now to Dr. Ismini. Thank you very much for supporting us for the event today. And she's going to tell you a bit more about cyber and social engineering. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. It's so great to be here today. I've been working with EDT and Industrial Cadets for a few years now, and I'm missing the students face to face, but I think it's amazing that for this. So I thank you, Julie, for the introduction. So I am working at De Montfort University. I joined DMU last summer. I used to be down at the University of Plymouth. So I've been in academia for as an academic over 15 years ago, but overall, if we count the years of my studies, I've been over 20 years now within higher education. So if I give you a bit of background about myself at the beginning, before we jump into cyber and why we need to focus a bit on cyber, I have a very messy, as I call it, career, and I think, and I try to use this as inspiring the young generation that if you set goals, if you have ambitions, if you dream big, you can achieve anything in your life. So I started with a computing degree, so I went into computer science. I've done all my programming modules, systems analysis design, database development, but then gradually as I started teaching and getting involved with the student community, I started identifying other areas that needed some attention and some focus. So when I went to do my doctoral studies, my PhD, I did this in education. Once I became an academic, I noticed that education really can influence everything. So as I was working through my research career within computer science and cyber was becoming more and more dominant, I realized that it's a very interdisciplinary field. So I'm not a cyber expert, but I am someone who's an expert in education and pedagogical aspects around what computer science is. And computer science is the foundation of cyber, but also there's other fields that are needed in order to support a cyber professional. And hopefully during this session today, you can really see the importance of all the professions paying attention to cyber, paying attention to this big term of social engineering and why it can affect our home lives, it can affect our professional lives, our personal lives, and how whatever we do in the future, we all need to come together and tackle this big issue of security awareness, security training, and understand the cyber threats that we're all facing. So if I could have the next slide, please. Fantastic. So what we will do a bit today is to introduce social engineering and why we need to be aware of this huge topic, how social engineering takes place in various fields. So we will have lots of examples within the organizations, within education, but also in our personal lives, how we can face social engineering. A few tools to identify and avoid, and how to report social engineering. And then towards the end, I can give some examples as well, and some food for thought for the future if you want to either run activities within your schools or you want to run activities at home, so you can understand a bit more how it's affecting you. Next slide, please. So the official term of social engineering is the use of deception to manipulate individuals into divulging confidential or personal information that may be used for fraudulent purposes. Now, this can sound really clunky sometimes. You know, it might not really make sense to say, well, actually, it might not apply to me ever, because all I'm doing is I'm doing a bit of gaming, or I'm logging in on social media like Facebook. So quite often people have a misconception that at a personal level or at home lives, it might not affect us. But in reality, social engineering is one of the biggest threats that cybersecurity is facing, and it can affect us at many different levels. Next slide, please. So why social engineering? So the first thing the people who try to have an attack are trying to do is to obtain those personal information. And what we mean about personal information, it can be anything from your bank accounts, from your passports, your name, your home address. And why they want to do that? Because they're going to gain unauthorized access. And one might question, say, well, if they really hack my Facebook account, or if they hack my Fortnite account, what are they going to gain? Well, if they have managed to do that, then they've got access to all your personal electronic belongings. They can start having access to your bank accounts. They can make unauthorized purchases. Let's say if you're playing Fortnite or another online game, they can start buying V-Bucks or through your bank accounts. So they gain something, but someone else is having to face the consequences of that. And quite often we don't know. It's not very easy to identify who has been trying to gain unauthorized access to your personal belongings like Facebook, Fortnite, Instagram, or any other social media you might be using. So by doing this, they're sidestepping the established procedures. And why they do this? Because they can. I think that's what we need to realize. And we need to stop thinking that, oh, it will never happen to me because all I'm doing is I'm just chatting to a couple of friends that I know. People can access our emails. They can access our personal computers. And this is what we need to understand, how it's happening and how we can stop it. Next slide, please. So how social engineering can take place. Many times we get people knocking on our door. Many times we're getting lots of spam phone calls as well. And how often they will say on the phone, oh, you've been involved in a car accident. And you start questioning, when was I in a car accident? Or, you know, I don't drive yet. So you start thinking, and they can really catch you at that stage. You might not realize that it's being a scam because they might even know your personal name. So how do they find out your name? How do they find out your personal phone number? They could even claim that they are from a card fraud department. They could claim they are your bank. They can claim that they're calling you for a technical problem with your phone. They might be calling you from the mobile company, pretending that they have noticed some inappropriate activity in your account. So they will pretend they're trying to figure out what is going on with your devices. It can happen physically. They can knock on your door. They can claim they are from a charity. They can even claim they are from the police. And of course, if you've got someone visiting and saying we are from the police, then you might start panicking and say, oh, why is police visiting me? So you don't really start thinking, oh, are they really from the police? How can I verify that they are who they are? The most common way of social engineering is happening by emails. They have improved, they have become so good, as I said before, because they have mastered it is an art how you can send a malware or a phishing email. So you send an email out pretending you are from PayPal, you use the same color scheme, you use the same font size, the same font type, and it really looks like they are from PayPal. They can sign team of PayPal, but what you don't realize is that something is different on the formal address on the top. And this is where we need to start becoming more critical of the emails that we receive and double checking that there's actually something wrong with our accounts if they claim there's something wrong with our accounts. Quite often we get emails where they say, if you click here, you're going to win the latest iPhone. Again, they're going to try to catch you there by clicking that link. They will take you to a page where they can start getting your IP of your computer. So immediately they will have access to your computers. They will get your email accounts, your address, your passwords. So you've got to be very, very careful of the emails you're receiving, ensuring that you are certain they are genuine emails and not click to any links that they might seem a bit dodgy. So you've got to be very careful when it comes to that. Can I have the next slide, please? The social engineering terms are so many out there. We're talking about unauthorized access. We're talking about easy access to our systems, how our personal information will be revealed. We're talking about how users have been tricked. We're talking about hackers. So there's so many terms out there, and social engineering is a field that is improving, is developing really, really rapidly. You might deal with a cyber attack today. By tomorrow, they have explored, they have understood how you've managed the cyber attack. The hackers will try to be a step ahead. So the cyber professionals, they have a very, very important job to do on protecting those networks, protecting access to our computers. And there are things that we can do at home as well, how we can protect our very personal information, our personal devices. Can I have the next slide, please? So examples of social engineering into a bit more details about how social engineering can happen. And what you could do at this point is, by taking this list away, you can reflect back on emails you might have received, phone calls you might have received, and decide how you need to respond to those people in the future. What do you need to ignore? If you need to set up some extra permissions on your email, so certain emails can go straight into the junk folder, they never come to your index. So there's a few things that we can think about the future. So when it comes to pretexting, it's a scripted scenario where you either pretend to be someone else or used as fake emails. So as I said, the PayPal is a very good example, and similar emails can be sent from eBay or they can be sent from Amazon. So this happens very, very often. They will have a certain scenario where they say the latest purchase you did is facing some issues. Click here or click there to confirm that this is a correct a transaction that you have performed. So you've got to be very, very careful on how you can identify those emails or those texts. With phishing, they will send you that link via email or social media platforms, and then they will claim they are from a valid company. And you've got to be very careful with the social media, because this is where phishing is taking place most of the times these days. Facebook has created a market. People can sell items on the market. Again, you are exposing your personal information. So it's very easy for people to get your personal details and send you a direct message with a link and start having access to your passwords, bank accounts, etc. With spear phishing, it's a subset of phishing, so where extra effort is required to individualize the attack. So that means when they do that, they actually know your name. So you might not see a generic email from PayPal or from Yahoo saying, we know this has been a cyber attack. We're trying to ensure that all our customers are safe and they have been affected. Click on this link. it's becoming far more personal. They could say, "Dear John," you know, they know your personal information. And how this can happen, again, as I said, because we're so exposed these days on social media, then all of personal information, especially our name, can be visible at many occasions. Another thing you've got to be very aware of is with your phone, your mobile phones, your tablets, even your laptops, your computers, the location of them. There is a setting that is, you can make your location visible to Facebook, to Instagram, Snapchat. I'm sure you've all heard on the news, and if you haven't, please do read a bit more about the danger that Snapchat and TikTok especially entail when it comes to the location of your device. They can easily track you just by clicking a link on those fake texts or emails they might send you. Baiting is a bit more complicated, and we might not face this in our personal lives, but organizations have fallen for this type of trick, if we call it a trick, quite often. People might claim that they are from a service company. They're there to, I don't know, check the server, or hang on, that's fine. Sorry about that. So quite often they will walk into the company and they will try to plug in a USB or a hard disk when, you know, and then they try to steal their data that way. So in personal lives, we're not going to face this quite a lot. But when it comes to organization, many people can just walk in. How many times have we held the door for someone and we don't know who the person is, and they can just walk to a big company, let's say. Tailgating is a person that might get help by an unauthorized person to get access to restricted areas where there's a form of electronic barrier. So very similar to baiting. With baiting, someone can just walk into a building, whereas with tailgating, you stay behind someone, you don't have a card to access the door. We're being kind, we hold the door, people can walk in. So as you can see, one type of social engineering can follow up the other. There are some strong links there. It can start with a simple email, a simple text, and gradually it's becoming more and more personalized. Can I have the next slide, please? So a few statistics. I know people don't really like numbers, but it's very good to put things in perspective. You need to, by looking at these statistics, what we see is that the fraudulent emails that will redirect you to a fraudulent website, it's growing up really rapidly. And this is what most social engineering hackers will try to do these days. And all this will happen either by social media or email. So we need to be very careful on what websites we're accessing, how we make our purchases, how do we ensure our personal devices are secure and protected. And as you go down the link, the list, you can see that the viruses will come second, and then we have others impersonating organizations, ransomware, unauthorized use of computers, but the emails are always on the top, and they are very serious. We need to take it very seriously when it comes to social engineering. Next slide, please. So the phishing emails, there's a lot of studies out there. The 2014 study was really interesting, and this has been guiding the cyber profession these days on how to, and this is what made really people to realize that to understand social engineering, we need people from many different backgrounds. Just a computer scientist might not be enough, because phishing emails and anything that has to do with social engineering, it's really about that person. How can we get that person confused? How can we trick an individual so they can believe the email they're receiving and they can click on that email, take them to the fraudulent website, and then get access to their data? So they did observe a huge variance in success rates, with the highest page having a 45% and the lowest having just a 3%. So that study was really important, and that's when companies, organization, the cyber professionals started looking into phishing emails and how they can start protecting the individuals. Next slide, please. So let's see some examples. What you might receive. You can receive a very generic email. It will say, "Good day, I'm the financial controller at Smart Accounting Solutions." They will state their role. They claim they are a private accounting firm. They are in the United States, and they try to convince you that they are in possession of a large sum of money. And what they're trying to do is they want to try and give this money to someone by trying to get you into a business idea. So they claim that they have looked you up, they know who you are, they know that you have a registered business, name and address. It's very generic. And then they give you an email. They pretend, they've got an address and a name at the beginning. They will even put at the bottom, if you see, it says, "Notice that this communication is intended for the person or entity whom it is addressed and may contain confidential, etc. information." So someone might read this and say, "Oh yes, I am self-employed, or I do have my own organization. Somebody's interested to collaborate with me." And people will reply to those kinds of emails very, very often. But I can reassure you that such emails are not legitimate. They don't say your name at the top. They don't give a bit of background why their business and your business could collaborate. So that should give you a hint that something is not legitimate in this case. Next slide, please. PayPal is an example I use whenever I go around and talk to people about social engineering. Now, if you see on the top and at the middle of this email, I have received that particular email in 2017. There's the PayPal logo on the top. There is lots of banners there that when you open the PayPal website, can really redirect you, and it might make you think, is this a legitimate email or not? So the only way to see if this is a legitimate email is by going on the top of your email and clicking, hovering over the PayPal sent address. On the PayPal website, if this is a legitimate one, and this one in particular is a true PayPal email. There's no problems with that, but quite often you might receive some similar ones that are not, and you've got to be very, very careful because they will use the PayPal logo. They will use the current layout of PayPal and what PayPal is trying to advertise at that very moment. So we need to be very careful, especially with big companies and known companies like that. Next slide, please. However, this one is a bit of a different PayPal email. If you look at the top, it says service.ePayPal, but it's PAI @outlook.com. So again, you will see that the PayPal logo is there, so it can't really confuse you. It says that there is an issue with your PayPal account. They're using the same font, they're using the same way of emailing you, but we're being clever. We're double checking that the address it has been sent from is correct and it is a PayPal account. Whereas the previous email was sent by a genuine PayPal account, this one is not. And you can do this without clicking any links and ensuring that you are safe well before you try out to see if there's really an issue with your PayPal account and there's still your personal data. Can I have the next slide, please? So this is another example. Again, if we look on the top, it says Windows error report. You might think, okay, maybe there's an issue with my Microsoft account, whether I'm a student or I'm an employee, we're using Windows most of the times. You might think that something is wrong and the technicians are sending a generic email to make sure that your account hasn't been hacked. However, when you look at the top again, it says, although it says Microsoft Team, if you really look at the email address, it says no reply, msteam2@outlook.com. Anything that ends with outlook.com, it's not really genuine, is it? It has to come from Microsoft itself. So although, again, the fonts could be looking very similar to what you have been receiving to date, by looking at that email address on top, it will tell you that it is not a genuine email. So again, something else you can start doing when you are receiving various emails and you're not certain why you have received them. Try not to be curious and click on those links. Although they might seem very genuine, because the fact they have come from a non-legitimate email address, those links will take you to a fraudulent website and they can steal your personal information. Next slide, please. So why should we care? We've seen lots of examples there, and quite often, as I said at the beginning, we might think, well, that is not going to happen to me in my personal life, or if I'm working for an organization, I'm sure they've put everything in place and I will not be hacked. Well, this is not really true. It can happen both our personal lives and professional lives. And although organizations spend most of their budgets on cybersecurity these days, still hackers have access and they can manage to access your personal information. So if an employer is about to pay you your salary, let's say if you're working in McDonald's, and somebody hacks the McDonald's system, then they might steal all the money. How they're going to pay the salaries for the employees. So it might not affect you directly today if there's a hacker attack the system, but it might affect you down the line in the future. So we need, the employer needs to be aware of those attacks. The attacker can steal your banking information just from a phone call. And what you can do, you can look a bit more into that. If you look at how scammers can even convince banks that they are who they claim they are on the phone call. There's lots of videos on YouTube that perhaps you would like to have a look at. And this can easily happen when people call us and they can say, we are from the car insurance company, or we're calling you in regards to your Amazon latest order. We tried to deliver it, you were not there. Can you confirm the details? Simple things like that. And especially if you're expecting a parcel, you can easily fall for it. The attackers could steal the personal data that a company can hold about you and use it to steal your identity and money. And this is something that is happening very often. So they might not attack you directly, but by accessing the organization's information, then they've got access to everyone's data, your bank account, because I have to give my bank account to my employer so I can be paid my salary. So you don't realize the danger that you put yourself in. So as an employer, they do have a great responsibility when it comes to personal data. Next slide, please. Now, I mentioned Fortnite at the beginning, and gaming is a big aspect of our lives to get to today. I remember in my years when I was a kid, we were playing Pac-Man and Space Invaders, but even by carrying on playing this game today on Xbox or PS4 or whatever, I do expose myself again. So it's very important when I create my gaming accounts that I think about social engineering through that stream as well. Fortnite and any other online game where you play with others, you don't know who you speak to, it can really put you in danger. And the issues are, again, very similar. Access to your account and access to your bank details. What we haven't mentioned so far, though, is the side of the social engineering when it comes to grooming of young adults and children. And as a mom myself, my kids will play online games, and I always try to keep an eye on who they speak to and how they decide on their friends. And this is something that the cyber professionals put at the forefront of the professionals as well. That it can become such a big issue, such a major incident when you speak to someone who's not legitimate, because you don't know what they're after, and it can be very dangerous. So there's lots of aspects when it comes to social engineering, and this is where the professions need to come together, and it goes beyond of those technical skills that a computer scientist might have in order to protect an account. We as individuals need to understand the dangers of social engineering. Educationalists need to understand that, psychologists need to understand that, and all the professions like social workers, bankers, anyone needs to understand how they can protect those individuals from social engineering. Next slide, please. Social networks is another major aspect of social engineering. There's, as we call it, some good social networks and some really bad social networks. In the US at the moment, there's lots of discussions about TikTok, the privacy issues when it comes to TikTok, that you can just create a video, publish it, and it's available to the whole world. There are really no limitations of having friends and making the video just available to your own friends. And so we need to be very, very careful with apps like that. TikTok, Snapchat, they will take your location. They know where you are. There is no filtering. So as you know, a young generation, you need to start thinking, why do you need to have access to so many social networks these days? When it comes to Facebook and Twitter, they are a bit more controlled. There are far more settings when it comes to permissions there. So we kind of say to students, especially, if you want to start joining social networks, maybe Facebook and Twitter could be a good start. However, AI, artificial intelligence, and the algorithms that are being created these days is also a very challenging area as well. So when you go on Amazon, you browse for something, you know, I want a new PS4 controller, then you open your Facebook page, you will see adverts from Amazon, and you can see adverts from a PS4 controller as well. And I want you to start thinking why this is happening. You have two different apps, and you browse something on one app, and then suddenly this advertisement appears on another app. It's because those apps on your phone can track you, they can see your movements, they can see what you have been doing, so they can take information from one app to another. And that's where AI is involved, and they create those algorithms to start creating your profile and social networks, and they can start hitting you with advertisements and make you buy stuff. So you need to be very careful about what you share. Sharing personal photos, we strongly advise not to do that. Dating apps is something, again, people are, you know, very fond of these days. You need to be extra cautious. You don't know who's behind that photo or that profile that you're adding. When it comes to those apps, it's best if you just make friends, people you know, not people you don't know. There's been on the news lately about comments on TripAdvisor that are not genuine. So how can companies, you know, a hotel or a caravan, ensure that the comments that they leave for them are genuine? So again, that's a type of social engineering. It could be one of their competitors, they're trying to affect their businesses, and they go and they leave negative comments on TripAdvisor. So that's a type of social engineering as well. They're trying to convince everyone that that company, that hotel, that caravan, holiday resort, whatever, is not a good place to visit. I keep referring to Amazon because it's another very good example, and many people have accounts with Amazon these days, and this is something you could also take back and discuss with your parents as well, or discuss it with your teachers. Your Amazon wish list is not a private list. You have to go into the settings and make it private, and this is again why a social network can use those algorithms and can start tailoring those adverts that you're seeing, because the Amazon wish lists are not private. They are public to all the users of Amazon, and of course AI can manipulate that and they can track you on every app that you're using and every website that you're using, and start personalizing what you see. The comments you leave on forums, again, they are not private. You've got to be very, very careful of what you put online, and that goes the same for social networks like Facebook and Twitter. Anything that you leave on public pages, it's not private. So again, you can expose your personal information through that. When people see your personal information, they will see your comments. That's when they can start creating those personalized emails or those personalized phone calls and texts, because you have exposed yourself. Next slide, please. So how to protect yourself? Exploring the settings of every application that you're using is really, really important. With Facebook on the left hand side, as you can see, you can select who can have access to your personal information or your posts or your photos. Now, what you've got to remember, though, is that Facebook as a company has the right to have access to all your personal data. And this is something very tricky. Very often we see people posting on Facebook and other social networks as well, some long text that they go around and they say, I don't agree with the new Facebook rules and I post this, so please copy and paste on your wall and things like that. Those things that don't count for anything. Again, they're just trying to manipulate, to social engineer those individuals into saying their personal information in public on Facebook. So although the posts and whatever you publish on a social network will be available to your friends only and not to others, at the same time, Facebook as a company will have access to everything. Quite often you download apps and they will ask for access to your Facebook account. Again, this is because AI will come into force there, and they will start creating that your online personality, and they can start creating personalized adverts. People can start social engineering, and they can start creating those emails. So if you see in the middle photo, I've got some examples of how they can access your basic information. So this app can do the following, and you see a list, and this app could be Amazon, it could be eBay, it could be a gaming app that you have downloaded on your phone, it could be any app that might want to have access to your Facebook account. And you need to ask yourselves, do I need to give them access to all this personal information? Why do I need to link all those apps together? So how people bring your info to apps they use, they can do it via your birthday, your family and relationships, what you're interested in, your political and religious views. They can see when you're online and when you're offline, your education, current city, where you live at the moment, and also where you're coming from, your hometown, if they're different. So these are the things that the apps will have access to. And if you give them access to, basically you have exposed your online identity to various developers, to various hackers as well. Can I have the next slide, please? So who are your friends on social media? I want to leave this slide with you to think about it. Every app is very different. Every app has very different settings. Every app will expose different information on the web for you. LinkedIn is to be seen as a more professional platform, but equally you're still exposing yourself online. But from the research has shown that there's less chance of you being hacked, there's less chance of you being social engineered by someone. Twitter and Facebook are working hard on creating those permissions and those filters to protect especially the younger generation. Twitter has been very careful on fake news, which is something that is really, again, it's another type of social engineering of this of this era. So we need to be very careful again of how we put our views out there, who are our friends, who do we follow, when we retweet something, and the same goes for Facebook as well. Now, Snapchat is a very different kind of app. we never understood the reason why you need to take a video and then the video will disappear in a few seconds. Many people might want to watch the video a bit longer. So that's a funny side of Snapchat. But Snapchat as an app really exposes personal identities online. So you've got to be very, very careful again about who you follow. If you're a parent, if you're a teacher, you can create various activities within your setting. You can start exploring the permissions and the settings of each app, and that's how you can really understand the danger that each one of them is actually creating for our young generation these days. So go back to your list of friends and count how many of those people you know personally and how many of those people you don't know personally. If you don't know them personally, why are they your friends on Facebook or Twitter or any other type of social media? And why do you need to connect with people that you don't know? There is, of course, the professional type of thing. That's why we've got LinkedIn, for example. But on personal social media, like Facebook, why do we need to connect with people we don't know? So a few things for you to think about when you decide which social media to use or not to use. Next slide, please. So 5 steps to defeat social engineering, and this can apply at school, it can apply at home, it can apply at personal lives, our professional lives. Education comes at the start. Cyber awareness is not something you learn by doing a certificate or by just going to the university or doing a BTEC or whatever you decide to do. Education is something, it's a more holistic approach. It will come from reading, understanding the app that I'm going to use, the dangers that the app is going to have, how to set up the permissions, and we need to educate parents, we need to educate our children, the teachers, the schools. There's a lot we can do when it comes to raising that awareness. So by creating those schemes and setting the scene about what social engineering is and how it can happen in so many different ways and why it can affect us from a very young age. You know, even kids over the age of 5, they do go online these days on an iPad or any other tablet or an online gaming environment. We can start raising awareness in different settings and making up age appropriate as well. We can start introducing user policies. Even at home, we can do this. We can decide as a family, these are the apps that we're going to use for such and such reason. And even if our friends are using something different, we can say, well, we are aware, we have been educated, these are the dangers, this is what we need to do, and move forward with those decisions, even at personal or family level as well. Updating your laptops, your tablet, your phones regularly is very, very important. You will see very often iOS or Microsoft are releasing security updates. So you might not see a fancy new layout on your screen, but in the background, that security update protects you, your online personal identity and your devices when you go on the web. So it's very, very important. And these days, people start talking about the 2-factor authentication, and that's something else that will urge you to start doing even at personal level on your home devices as well. How do we verify our identities online? Make sure that when you click something, you know that it is a legitimate email, and I've shown you a couple of ways how you can double check that. Set up 2-way authentication when it comes to your emails, your phones, your tablets, your laptops. There's so many new biometric opportunities these days on verifying our identities. Next slide, please. You can start doing activities for security awareness, and again, don't ignore this. These are little things that you can do at home as well. So explore the privacy settings when it comes to social media. When you join a new game, especially if it's an online game, go through those settings, go through those permissions, and read a bit about it, because Microsoft or Epic Games or anyone who's releasing something, it will come with a manual. It will be online, but do spend some time to understand those privacy settings and what can protect you. The same applies to shopping apps or any texting apps as well. Next slide, please. When it comes to the school, at school level, we can do, again, a lot. We need to ensure that even the Board of Governors and trustees are trained on security awareness. So it needs to start from the top as well. And then we need to ensure that our teachers are trained, and then we can incorporate all these as part of all our topics really at school level. So the teachers can have a dedicated security awareness program, or it can be embedded within our computer science curriculum or ICT or whatever each school has. However, because we said social engineering can really affect everyone, even if you are in an art school or a more interdisciplinary school, again, you can identify where it fits best and you can embed it and you can demonstrate a different approach to social engineering. How can people be attacked or targeted through posting, let's say, an art piece that have produced, a poem or a drawing? You know, that people can really get your online identity through that as well. And another thing you could perhaps start doing at school level, you can identify a cyber champion for each class. So when you sit with your friends during lunch break or during your class lesson, and you talk about, oh, you know, I posted this last night on Facebook, or did you see this tweet or something, then the cyber champion can really support that group. It can support the class to ensure that everybody is being educated on cyber, on the issues of social engineering, and they can start running small activities perhaps. And quite often when it's coming from peer to peer, it can even be more effective because you are at the right level. You are really using the same apps. So it can really, really be effective. And it could be something else that you could put on your CV as well for the future. Next slide, please. At home, what can we do? Talk with your children, talk with your siblings. If you are the eldest sibling, talk to your younger brothers and sisters about the dangers of social engineering, the issues of cyber attacks. What you learn at school, take it back at home, ensure that it does apply to your devices. Don't forget that we can be attacked and social engineered both at personal level or at professional level. Security and cyber awareness is a continuous topic that needs to be monitored continuously. So once a month, maybe you can open the settings on your Fortnite game, go through the permissions, see what has changed, perhaps read some articles about it, you know, how Epic Games is improving the game for the future. If there's something on the news, if they have announced there's been a cyber attack, read about it, try to understand why did this happen and how could you be affected on a personal level. There are some links there that you can follow about how you can develop your awareness around security. And although I say security awareness for parents, these are really good links for you know, you as students as well, or teachers. You can really take a few ideas away and start applying them. Check your personal devices, check the computers at school, and then you can move up the hierarchy as well. And there's also a toolkit as well that you might want to go through. There's a set of questions there that you can explore. Have I done my, you know, have I set up my permissions correct? So lots of information there for you to take away. Next slide, please. This is from the National Cybersecurity Centre. Now, this is a fantastic organisation. I've been working with them for a number of years, and we're setting up various schemes that can apply at school level, college level, university level, and of course, the employees as well. You can easily find this glossary online. You can download it, you can stick it on the walls if you want to. Possibly some of these terms are not really easy to understand at this stage, but things like antivirus, Two-factor authentication, as we said, are very important to start thinking about and ensuring that you are addressing them on your personal devices or at school environment. Another thing I would like to bring your attention to is your digital footprint. It's on the second column, the third item down, digital footprint, which is your basically your online identity. Okay, so when you visit a website, you leave a footprint behind. Think of walking on the sand, and as you walk on the beach, you leave your footprints behind. It's exactly the same with online visits when we go to a website. There's a bit of information about social engineering, and if you download this leaflet and if you go to the NCSE website, you can really find more information about all those terms if you want to explore and improve your cyber awareness. Next slide, please. I do have a few links for more reading if you would like to follow through. Kaspersky is a huge organization, and they work very closely with the universities as well about what is social engineering. And you can really see how the different fields come together, why we need to understand people on a personal level, why we need psychologists, why we need educationalists, and why, of course, we need a computer scientist to do all the technical work there as well. And then the other website is the security awareness one, which again can provide you with a glossary of information when it comes to security and social engineering terms for you to explore in the future. Next slide, please. So how about next steps? What do we do next? So we have discussed the issues of social engineering. We have explored various aspects of our lives and how it can affect us just by playing a game or just by giving this talk today. I am online. I do leave my footprint behind. I do expose myself. I am on the camera so people can see my face. How do I ensure that in an hour's time, nobody will call me or email me trying to sell me a business idea? Next slide, please. So we need to start thinking cyber then as an interdisciplinary opportunity and discipline. We need people from computer science, from social sciences, forensics are very highly involved, and education. If you hide one of those fields, then you cannot improve that security awareness. You cannot produce those technical settings that will protect those individuals, because a computer scientist might not understand how a person can be influenced by something they read online, and this is where we need the educationalists. This is where we need the psychologists. Okay, so then as next steps, we need to start seeing cyber as more interdisciplinary. So if you are interested in cyber, don't think that you have to do just a computer science degree. There are many other ways, many other routes that you can get to sign advanced at the beginning. So you need to start thinking about what are your transferable skills and what can you offer within the cyber profession. Next slide, please. So the skills in cyber, what we're looking for is the problem solving, organization skills, having a team spirit, because social engineering, cyber is about people, is people manipulating people really. So you need to be able to solve those problems and you need to be able to work as a team. And I do have a list of potential technical jobs that you may find when it comes to cyber. So you can become someone who's dealing with the network protocols or is dealing with denying access to intruders. Social engineering is a very big theme, as we said today, and it is one of the most important aspects of cyber. Programming is another skill that is needed, understanding the risks as well. So again, it's also about those soft skills that we need to bring into the field as well. Can I have the next slide, please? So as we're coming to an end, I've tried to cover a lot today. What I'm going to say at this stage, as I'm closing this talk, is there's no need to be afraid of going online. The cyber professionals, the computer scientists, the psychologists, they're doing the very best to protect you all. You just need to become more aware and educate yourselves and your friends and your families. Dream big, set goals, be creative, and be innovative. And by all means, if you want to get in touch with me, my email and my Twitter account is there, and I'll be more than happy to chat with teachers, parents, and students as well. Thank you ever so much for having me today. I will now pass you back to Julie.
Thank you very much, Yasmini. That was a fascinating insight into the world of and considerations that we need to make for all of us when we are online. As she explained to us, really, this is all about social engineering and us needing to think about what we do when we are online and what considerations we need to have. The rest of the day, though, is going to be focused very much more on career insights and thinking with those skills, where could that take you in terms of a career? What opportunities are there for you? We've got lots to consider, but really the nice thing, I think, for you personally about if you've got an interest in cybersecurity is that we can consider things about how to protect ourselves that you've heard in this presentation here this morning, but also consider, as Yasmini mentioned on the presentation, not just for yourself, but also for your families, for your friends, and how a career in cyber is helping make the world a safer place for everyone. So it's a really, really important role and a fascinating role, and it's a growth sector for the industry in cybersecurity. And if you want to focus on social impact, and if you want to make a difference for yourself and for everyone around you, then a career in cybersecurity does that, because really what you're doing is you're helping making everyone safe. Because as Yasmini said on that presentation, you don't need to be fearful of some of this stuff because these applications are written with cybersecurity experts in the background, helping make these applications safe, helping with those footprints that you're making across the digital online world. And you could be part of that. So if you are interested in that social impact, we'll hear more this afternoon at 1:30 about some career insights, about some career people talking about their careers, some information from a specialist from cybersecurity and technical careers from Computer Centre, and then we'll have a live Q&A panel from a whole host of companies, from both a small business who we'll hear from Martin, who was originally working in large global companies and has now set up his own business, all the way to larger companies, from companies like Unilever, Computer Centre, Leonardo, Arm and many others. So as I suggested this morning, think about your questions, think about what is it that a career could mean to you? What questions do you have for the employers or for Yasmini that we could pick up later on and make sure that you can get those questions? And consider as well, the really nice thing about a career in cybersecurity is you can start to build those skills very practically now. If you follow all those hints and tips around social engineering, you actually are developing skills in cybersecurity without even realizing it. And you start to get into the mind and the thoughts about hackers, how they can work, and actually how you can actually stop that from working, using problem solving skills, being creative. It's a brilliant career for you to consider and think about and learn about more. So join us again this afternoon at 1:30. We'll be on the same link. If you have any questions that you think about over this break from now until 1:30, as I say, you can stick them on the chat, that's absolutely fine. And by sticking them on the chat, we'll pick up with them later on this afternoon. So we'll leave you here now. You can leave this sign if you want to, or you can close off now and join by the same link at 1:30, and we'll look forward to seeing you then. Thank you.
So much of what we do today relies on STEM, and it's really important to inspire the future generations to get interested in engineering and to follow in our footsteps and become our future engineers. And I think Industrial Cadets really helps with that.
I see this scheme benefiting my company and the STEM industry because it's just inspiration, especially as a female engineer myself. We don't see a lot of females going into this project or into this industry.
I've never really known what an engineering industry was like, and I thought this would give me an insight into how engineering industries work.
You learn fundamental skills that are really necessary for the working environment. So like working as a team, communication and effective problem solving.
What I liked most about having a mentor was you're able to learn from them. So they've had their experience in the field that I want to get into. So being able to learn and follow them and see what they do on a day-to-day basis is really informative and helped me decide that I really want to get into this career.
I'd definitely like to do some more Industrial Cadets experiences, like doing the Inspire or Head Start courses, because they allow you to see more about engineering as well as experiencing going into university and stuff like that.
They can use this experience within their interviews for apprenticeships and for university and progress their career within their chosen engineering field.
My company recognises the importance of introducing young people to our industry, giving them valuable work experience with a view to helping them make the right choices for their future.
I would 100% recommend this experience. Whatever stage you can do, whether it's in the school or outside of school, just look on the EDT website or wherever. There's so many opportunities around the country and just invaluable, definitely.
My company chose to support Industrial Cadets because we felt that they really shared our vision in terms of helping young people into STEM subjects.
My company recognises the importance of introducing young people to our industry, giving them valuable work experience with a view to helping them make the right choices for their future.
We recognise how important it is to get people to experience industry so that they can think about a career in it and potentially take it as a career in the future.
We chose to support Industrial Cadets because it's an important part of our outreach programme in the community, and also for educating students on the opportunities in engineering and manufacturing in the food sector.
Our company, GSK, chose to support Industrial Cadets because we really want to inspire the next generation of talent.
We've achieved, by working in collaboration with Industrial Cadets, the opportunity to give a significant number of students access to our business. We've strengthened relations with local schools and hopefully therefore we'll get more applications to our apprentice and degree apprentice schemes in the future, which is what we want.
To encourage more young people into our sector, somehow we need a united approach with the media, with television, to make what we do in our industry as exciting a prospect as we can for these young people.
What I liked most about having a mentor was you're able to learn from them. So they've had their experience in the field that I want to get into. So being able to learn and follow them and see what they do on a day-to-day basis is really informative.
You learn fundamental skills that are really necessary for the working environment. So like working as a team, communication and effective problem solving.
So much of what we do today relies on STEM, and it's really important to inspire the future generations to get interested in engineering and to follow in our footsteps and become our future engineers.
I did go for SET because I wanted to try and incorporate more of my knowledge of geography side and science and maths, which I study at school, with helping the world and helping the environment as well.
In GoForSet, I enjoyed learning a more practical hands-on experience about science, technology, engineering and maths.
The thing I enjoyed most about my GoForSet experience was learning more about the different types of STEM. For most of our other projects we've done, it was all very specialised.
I did GoForSet in my school because I wanted to work with other people who had a similar interest in STEM subjects to me.
I chose to spend 6 months on this project because I thought it'd give me enough time to really see how an engineering project works from start to end.
You learn fundamental skills that are really necessary for the working environment. So like working as a team, communication and effective like problem solving.
In the classroom, it's definitely more written work, what the syllabus says for GCSEs and tailored more towards your exams. Whereas Go for Set, it's a lot more of what you would need in later life. So I learned how to write reports, I learned how to work better as a team, time management skills.
I learned about more life skill wise, what the adults think, what everybody else thinks. But in the classroom, we just based it on student wise, what the students think.
I'd say it was a fantastic experience and they should really go for it because it's you learn so much and you have so much fun and get just the experience of being there and being able to see what university life is like is really interesting.
When you're building your CV, building your portfolio, definitely do things outside of your normal scope of work, your hobbies. Do different things, go work with employers for weeks, definitely work with charities.
I would 100% recommend this experience. Whatever stage you can do, whether it's in school or outside of school, just look on the EDT website or wherever. There's so many opportunities around the country and just invaluable, definitely.
Good afternoon and thanks for rejoining us after the break on day 3 of the Industrial Cadets Week. I hope you enjoyed the fascinating session run by Dr. Ismini from De Montfort University, teaching us all about cybersecurity and social engineering this morning. This afternoon, we're going to continue to explore the exciting world of work with a further insight into cyber, careers in IT, and the opportunity to hear from a range of employees about the variety of pathways you can take into your career and the interesting opportunities available for you. We will also show you a video from De Montfort University about cybersecurity, followed by one from EDT's Year in Industry alumni Abike, who won Industrial Cadet of the Year 2018. Finally, meet with Kieran, who is currently undertaking a year in industry placement at ExoServe.
My research is centered around cybersecurity, in particular looking at cybersecurity of industrial control systems.
You've only got to watch the news almost on a daily basis and there's been another breach or another loss of data, or GDPR is coming along, and more people are starting to understand what cybersecurity means. And it's not just about internet safety anymore, it's about how safe we are and our details are online.
And that is something that you will have seen in the NHS crisis, where we had actually a ransomware attack on the NHS.
It's about ensuring those critical national services are maintained constantly so that we can use things like the internet.
So De Montfort University is one of Airbus's Centre of Excellences for Cybersecurity Research. We've had a number of projects where we bring researchers into Airbus's facilities.
The hope that we have is that when they come in, they hit the ground running a lot quicker, because they've had that exposure to different industrialists and different people and different ways of working.
That influence that you get from an industry, or that real world understanding that you get from industry, helps to challenge those biases very early in that process.
Being able to access the latest research means that we can start embedding and trialling ideas and concepts for the programs of the future.
We are living in a more connected world. Those connections offer great opportunity, but they also offer great risk.
And cyber threats evolve very rapidly. This space is changing from a year-to-year basis, on a monthly basis even, of what threats we can recognize and what is actually happening from an attacker side and a defender side.
And this sort of research means that we can start to design systems that are inherently resilient to malicious use. So being able to actually have that interface to academia has been really powerful for us.
Industry is actually inputting directly into what the university is teaching. The skills that are coming through from the university are highly relevant to help the future generations to be our future employees.
The work that we do with De Montfort University will inspire others. Certainly when I talk to students here who aren't engaged in any of our programs, they're very much inspired to us as an organisation and the other organisations that are represented by the Industry Advisory Group, and that's really refreshing.
One of the reasons people become an engineer is because they want to make the world a better place. They want to do the best they can with the resources that they have. And cybersecurity is an incredible way to have a positive impact on society.
I completed the Industrial Cadets because I see it as a really good way of getting students into engineering roles to actually do good experience in industry, as well as doing outreach with other companies, with children and with schools. During my year in industry, I worked with business improvement and lean. I also then took part in other projects to do with engineering. The most important thing I learned in my Industrial Cadets was to seize any opportunity you could. Manage your time, but make sure that you seize opportunities.
It is hugely encouraging, I think, that so many young people have become cadets. It's clear to me that the rapid pace of change in the way that our industries operate is bringing a host of new challenges and opportunities. I do wish you all every possible success in your exciting careers ahead.
Now that I've completed my Industrial Cadets, I have reapplied to Rolls-Royce and I'll be going on their graduate scheme in operational management.
Hi, my name is Beaver and I'm here with Kieran. It's lovely to meet you and thank you so much for taking the time to join us as part of our Industrial Cadets Week. I understand that you are currently on placement. Could you tell us a little bit about your placement, if you don't mind?
Yeah, sure. Thank you for having me, Beaver. So I'm currently working as a demand estimation intern at Exaserve. So I started in September, so during the COVID circumstances. So majority of my placement has been placed at home. And so it's basically a data service provider for utility companies, mainly predominantly in the gas industry.
Oh, brilliant. Well, you've mentioned you've been working from home, but would you have an idea of what your day-to-day would have looked like before COVID, essentially?
Yeah, so it's funny you mentioned that as well, because my current manager, who actually interviewed me online on a Skype call, he did mention, so this was back in May, oh yeah, we should be back in the offices by the time you join. So we were really excited that I'd have the opportunity to understand what the day-to-day was in like an office environment, but then we fast forwarded and we're still in these interesting circumstances. But so my day-to-day at the moment, I think, looks very different to what it could have been. So I start with at 9 o'clock with a team call, which is quite nice because we all have our cameras on, just get to do like a round table, see what everyone's up to during the day. Followed by that, I'll just do some of my core activities, which is managing the sample data. So, which is really nice because I've been given the trust and confidence to work with that quite early on in my placement. And then I'll have a few calls here and there with my team and with my manager just to make sure I'm on track. And at the moment, I'm just currently working on building a new system in SAS, so that's quite interesting.
Oh,
but
brilliant.
In the office, I think it would have been definitely an earlier start. That commute, don't miss it at all.
Yeah, exactly. I don't blame you either. Yeah.
Maybe a few water cooler chats with a number of different people, but obviously most of the time just talking onto the screen kind of thing. Don't get that interaction as much.
Yeah, would you say that's like the most challenging part of the job, essentially, or, you know, is that the best part of the job?
It's definitely a challenge, and it's something that I've learnt to live with and just try and take the opportunity while I can, because this potentially could be the new way of working. So I don't want to take it as a disadvantage, saying maybe next year, well, obviously I'll finish my final year of studies, but following that, if I decide to go into the working environment, potentially this could be the new way of working. So I like to consider myself like the first kind of cohort to experience this. So I have tried to like branch out using LinkedIn, just kind of see, oh look, this person works at a company, surname then.
With that in mind, obviously, like COVID, you know, been a massive impact on your role. Were you sort of like nervous going into the job, like your first day, for example, knowing that it wasn't going to be in that office environment? Were you very nervous, or was it as you expected it to be, or was it something completely new to you? How did you basically manage that? How did you deal with that?
I think everyone has nerves, even when you're starting a new job.
Yeah.
Despite the environment that you've been placed in. So yeah, I was nervous, but luckily I did have the opportunity to meet my team beforehand on Teams. So I kind of had to see, okay, this is where I'll be working, and then had a week where I could just take a break off, and then I actually started in September. So it was quite nice. I'm quite excited as well because the core responsibilities, because I know I'll be getting into my work straight away, because there isn't much of a social aspect to really do at the moment. You have a few, maybe some Zoom calls, some team calls where you might have some quizzes and stuff, like networking activities, but definitely miss that element of maybe being able to understand other people's work by like work shadowing and stuff.
Well, hopefully it won't be too long before you have that that extra opportunity as well.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah, exactly. But what made you want to actually do an industrial placement? It'd be really nice to know.
I think I was one of the individuals that was kind of set from first year, so I just remember kind of attending uni inset days where you had the opportunity to kind of see what the university has to offer. So I study at Coventry University, and I just remember this lecturer speaking to us before I'd even decided where I wanted to go. These are the opportunities, these are the companies you could potentially work with in the future. So I was already in that mindset that I really would like to take my sandwich year out and just get exposure and experience. And so I managed to secure my placement during COVID. So I was kind of fortunate in a sense. Yeah, especially because I know quite a few of my mates, they secured something in the previous September, but unfortunately, because the firm couldn't handle the situation, they had to let them go. So I'm really lucky to be in the position I'm in today.
Very impressive. Yeah. Wow. So that was always the plan then, to go in a placement and sort of understand the world of work, that industry better. And obviously, you know exactly what you wanted to do from the get-go. That's amazing. So do you think, in your opinion, is invaluable to do a placement, to go on a placement?
100%. Like, even I know we keep coming back to this core thing, COVID, at the moment, but I did have a few friends who were like, oh, I don't even know if I want to go on placement now because of the current circumstances, but I definitely don't regret it. Any experience you get at an early age just allows you to see what you're interested in and maybe what you're not. And even though I'm really thoroughly enjoying my placement, but some individuals may not like the working at home, sitting at a desk all day, looking at your laptop. It's just another thing to take off your list, saying this is not something I want to do.
Absolutely.
So I definitely encourage individuals to look out there and just see what you can get. And you may think that there's all these companies, like these top-notch companies that are offering these placements. It's best to just have an open mind and just kind of see what you can dip your toes into, kind of thing.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, you bang on the money there. So in your opinion, you think the placement has helped you or will help you shape, your decision for the future, what you want to go into? And I think it's valuable, isn't it? Something that everyone should be able to do.
Yeah, I couldn't agree. Like, still early stages, but I can kind of see whether I want to go on to a grad program after this, or do I want to conduct my master's straight after. So it's just giving me another opportunity to actually evaluate the decision instead of being set in stone. You don't really know what life's kind of going to throw at you, so you might have one plan, don't always need to stick with it. It's kind of just seeing where that path takes you. In terms of even just personal development, I think it's helped me understand who I am as a person, because you only have those. So I mentioned my daily day-to-day includes speaking to my team, so I've only got that half an hour interval to kind of express who I am, and you kind of realize that you pick your key values and your key points of view as one to kind of contribute to the team. So it's really important.
Amazing. With that, I would like to ask if you have any advice or tips that you'd like to give to other students who are maybe thinking about going onto a placement. What would you say from your experience so far? What would you advice would you give to all those students out there?
I would say it's a very competitive industry to enter. Student myself, I understand how many applications you have to go through to get to the one that you really want to secure. I've been in that boat. I know I'm sitting here today with a placement in hand, but trust me, it wasn't easy. Yeah. So just stay motivated, and you never know when the right opportunity will come. So this is something my mum always used to tell me. It's like, if a company doesn't want you, you won't be the right fit for them. So just think that the company that does accept you, your values align with theirs. So I can definitely vouch that I've seen that with the company that I'm currently at, because yes, I was rejected by others, but don't let that let you down. Just let that motivate you to be like, no, someone will accept me, and prove yourself during your placement, but most importantly, have fun.
Absolutely.
Don't be too hard on yourself either.
Exactly. That's number one. I love that. Have fun and enjoy it. Thank you very much. Thank you for taking the time and to tell us all about your placement and your experience so far. Really appreciate your time, and I wish you all the best for the future. Thank you so much.
Thank you. It was a pleasure, and I wish everyone the best of luck, and I'm sure you'll secure something out there.
Amazing. Thank you, Kieran.
Those videos gave us further insight into cybersecurity from De Montfort and a fantastic understanding what it is like to be a placement student on the Year in Industry programme run by EDT. I guess one tip to take away is being open-minded about the opportunities out there and to stay motivated even when those rejections happen. So now we're going to hear an interview with Doris Webb, who is a future talent specialist at Computer Centre, to help us gain insight into the careers in innovative sector and to help us break into the world of IT.
Hello students, my name is Doris Webb and I'm coming from a company called Computer Centre. Computer Centre, my goodness, what is that? It looks already interesting. It has something to do with space. No, it has a bit more to do with computers, but IT is a vital part of what brought us actually into space in the first place. And I would like you to have an open mind that a company like Computer Centre can not only provide you with IT careers, but with many other paths. And I would like to discuss them in a bit more detail with you now. So first, to me, I'm working for Computer Centre since 7 years. I'm part of the Future Talent team, which looks after graduates and industrial placement students and apprentices, and pretty much after every young person who would like to come into our organization. I'm also very fortunate that I'm running our CSR program, which looks after school, colleges and universities. I go into schools and give life skill and employability sessions, have maybe some expert talks with students, or bring in some of my colleagues, like the two you will meet today later on from cybersecurity, who can tell you a bit more about their exciting roles and their experiences and give some very good advice. So what we do at Computer Centre. At this point, I would normally ask you if you ever have ordered Domino's pizza before. And if you have, then you have become indirectly a customer of Computer Centre. So we have created that app for Domino's, which tells you that the pizza is in the oven. But that's one of the few things we have done. We are very proud of. If you see all of these big brand names now on the screen, these are all customers of ours where we will provide all the vital infrastructure. So all the IT hardware and software, from the mobile phone to the printer, the cybersecurity which will come with it, or the data protection solutions. We provide that all in a lovely bulk, make it as much as possible useful for our customers, and then provide them with it. And then during that time, we of course look after them, making sure that everything works and help them to be always as efficient as possible in their job. Recently, we had the pleasure to be able to provide the NHS with all the vital IT infrastructure they needed to set up the Nightingale hospitals in London and Manchester. And it was a very intense 2 weeks project where lots of people had to work together effectively as a team, not only from IT, but also from the project management and from the logistics team, the cybersecurity team, and many others from the sales and customer service care team had to work together to make this happen in 2 weeks' time. We're really proud that we are able to provide not the NHS, but also the country in such a difficult and vital time with such services. We are helping customers all over the world, so we operate in over 70 countries. So if you are maybe thinking about studying a different language, for a company like Computer Center, that could be very, very handy, as we are working across many different countries and cultures together. My team, perhaps, they're sitting in 5 different countries at the moment. I'm working with colleagues directly from Germany or from Hungary or from France. So sometimes speaking the language can really break barriers, and it can help us to just grow closer together as a team. It's also nice to be able to travel. So if you like to travel maybe one day for jobs, that could be something which could happen at Computer Center. So one of a little few pictures from our head offices in Hatfield, Hertfordshire, which is about 30 minutes by train from London away. But we also have offices all over the UK, from Manchester to Birmingham to Nottingham, Sheffield, Reading, and of course London. And you can definitely be flexibly based with us as well, which makes it a bit easier. We also have lots of fun, and we have a very caring culture at Computer Center. We're having a young Fresh Minds team where we suggest anybody who's under 30 and joins the company to join Fresh Minds also, because it's all about as well being inclusive and being included and being heard. And we would like that you also can bring in new ideas on a regular basis. So we would like you to give us your ideas about what you would like to see in a workplace, how we can make it better for you. And this group has come up with wonderful ideas, things like maybe a PlayStation room for the lunch break, or ham hocks in the lobby, or a vegan menu. All of these wonderful ideas making Computer Center a workplace where everybody wants to come to in the morning. And thanks to that, we really encourage everybody to speak out and share with us their opinion. We also, as we said, have our volunteering program, Rocket Launches, which brings vital services to schools, colleges and universities. And with that kind of program, you are able to meet these lovely volunteers you will meet this afternoon from cybersecurity, because they have dedicated 5 hours a month to the program to volunteer and help young people to seek and find their real potential. So these are few things we do at Computer Center, and they're really fun and enjoyable. And of course, at this point, I always say Computer Center, and many students say to me how boring it is. They don't want to do anything with computers. Computers are for nerds. Computers, I don't want to work in IT. I want to help people and not sit in front of a screen. All good points, but when you think about how the IT industry has affected us throughout our lives everywhere, and how it will actually in the future, we're looking at many different possibilities. From, of course, in the supermarket, you have been already in contact with AI technology of helping you to check out faster. But also one day might be doctors who have robotic arms, and then lasers who will actually perform the surgery for you. There will be lots of different advantages which you can't even imagine now, and almost 3,000 jobs which will be necessary in the future have actually not been created yet. Therefore, at this point, I would like you to always keep an open mind. And once you are in a job, be the person who volunteers for things, be the person who's curious, be the person who asks proactively if they can be involved in new projects, because you might be the one who's actually creating a job for yourself in the making and you actually haven't realized it. That's what happened to me. That's what my career led me to all of a sudden, from volunteering, from bringing myself in, putting myself out there and expressing an interest into things I might have not been considered before. And that's how I came to an IT company myself, from a hotel management degree. A very long story, which is for another afternoon. But yeah, if you're not into IT, we also offer you careers in legal, in marketing, in corporate communications or in management. There's some sales, there's customer service involved, and there's event management for the organizers amongst you, which maybe really enjoy making things work and bringing things to people together. That could work for you, which also leads into project management, of course. We have, of course, lots of apprenticeships, which are probably for your age group the most next step on the list. But of course, there's also industrial placement programs to consider. This is for those of you who would like to maybe go to university, but not losing the connection with an industry. So you have a chance to do a placement year at university where you go 1 year into the industry. And I can highly recommend that to do that, because theory is all nice and well, and university is a really great experience. But once you graduate from university, employers will ask you, where's your work experience? And if you haven't been able to do a placement year, or you haven't have a side job, or maybe volunteer somewhere, then you don't have maybe an advantage of other people who maybe have that. So therefore, I would recommend you consider placement year in your university time. We also have the graduate programs, which will help you making an easier transition after your university life into an organization, because that can be quite daunting sometimes. And associate programs, which is maybe for those of you who have finished university, have done a few years in the industry you've chosen, and you realize you actually want to go a very different path. And the associate programs could help you with that, to go into a very different career. At this point, I would like to say that every average person normally changes their career path at least 3 times. So if you're undecided now and you really don't know what you want to do, that's not a problem at all, because you will probably change your career at least 3 times in your life. So what can we do for you now? So if you are at a position that you are finishing your GCSE levels and you don't want to go into A levels, or you don't want to go to college and you just want to start with an apprenticeship, we could offer you social media marketing, which is all about web design. It's about being almost a small journalist as well for us. It's about creating content for a platform, to really work in marketing and promote something. That's really an exciting environment to be in. Or you could become a network engineer, where you helping in our IT department to configure and to set up different networks, different laptops and equipment. A level 4 will also give you a degree as well with that. The Unified Communications Technician is again a very helpful desk analytics that will be all about helping in IT directly our customers by configuring and setting up things and helping when their problems arise. And of course, customer service in any sort of way. Even if you are leaving without the necessary GSEs, we can offer you a level 2 in customer service, and would then put you into a level 3 afterwards to build up your skill set and then be able to go into a customer service facing role after. Then, of course, there's the higher degree apprenticeships for all of you who would like to go to university, but without that hefty price tag of a university degree at the end of it. You would get a university degree from us, we will pay for it, and you have the wonderful combination of practical working going with university working hand in hand. You will work in our different departments, you have your colleagues, you're almost like you're really in a real job, you're earning money, but you're also going to university once a week and making these vital theoretical studies to help you with your degree. And we can offer you that, as I said, in a project management degree, in a business data analyst or networking engineer position, or in being a manager or operations department manager. And of course, if you would like to not go into IT, then we have human resources, where you hire and where you develop people and making strategic decisions. We offer that for level 3. Or if you want to become a training manager to train others on the job, that would be our L&D practitioner level 3. Accountancy, we have apprenticeships from level 3, which is a GCSE school leaver situation where you become an accountant, up to a level 7 where you go to university and make various degrees. That can be prolonged as much as you want, and as much as your performance also works with our expectations. And if you maybe want to not become an apprentice anymore, you only do the level 3 and level 4 and then graduate. That's up to you. We can do that flexible for you. And of course, the business administration level 3 and level 4, which will help you to go into something like project management, event planning, or becoming a personal assistant. Or if you want to become a manager or a team leader and you want to get ahead in life, then the team leader supervisor level 3 could also be something for you to explore. These are just a few of the opportunities we have. And I go back to Poppy now to ask me a few questions.
Great, thank you, Doris. That was really fantastic. Thanks very much. So my first question would be, what do you feel young people can do to give themselves the best chance to find their right roles and the jobs that are right for them?
I think being actually able to go in and having a look is important. I personally made my choices for my job in basis of work experience you do, and that was work experience I organized myself in my school holidays back then when I was 14, and that really helped me a lot. So if you have a chance maybe to ask your parents, the parents could ask their friends. You always know somebody who works somewhere. So if you want to be all of a sudden become a vet and maybe your mom and dad knows a vet, then ask if you could maybe spend a few days with them to really see how the experience actually is, because often our imagination of what the job really is with what the reality looks like could be very different. My first work experience was in a law office, and I thought it's going to be exciting, there's going to be trials and things. No, I was actually locked in a basement closing cases by writing the letter 25 times every day, the same letter. Thank you for your business, your case is now closed. And I realized, no, law is not going to be for me. I need to do something a bit more hands-on, and then I ended up going into hotel management. So yeah, these work experience is important. Speak to people, ask people for things, go into your local stores. If there's any area you maybe like to have a side job somewhere, then go into the local store, bring your CV in, tell them who you are, tell them you're interested in maybe helping out there a few times a week, and be the proactive kind. It's going to be so important to show these people skills that you can actually talk to strangers and don't be worried about it. To shop owners and ask them if you can help out there maybe once a week as a vital work experience, or volunteer for charities. That could be something where you can really put yourself out there and go the extra mile. Or if it's perhaps leading your local football team, helping coaching a young group perhaps. These kind of extra curriculum things are really making the difference when you later on prepare your CV as well, because they will show you lots of applicable skills which the employers want to see: the teamwork, the listening skills, the communication skills. That's all I really would suggest to do. Put yourself out there. And have a LinkedIn profile, by the way. A LinkedIn profile is very good because LinkedIn profiles are the #1 recruiting tool in the UK, and it's a very nice profile to have. Make it nice, make it snazzy. Write a few positive posts about you, about maybe your achievements in school, about something you have handed in, you've received a good grade for it. That is self-promotion, which will be in a very professional network scene, and you can connect with employers really, really informal this way. Sorry, that was a long answer.
Lovely. No, and just on that topic of LinkedIn, do you have any top tips of how to make your LinkedIn profile professional? Because I know that when I created my first LinkedIn profile, I'd only had personal social media accounts, and having Instagram page is very different to having a LinkedIn profile. Do you have any tips on how to make that a professional profile?
Yes. Before you post any pictures there, always check the free kind of rule. Would I be embarrassed if my teachers would see it, this picture? Would I be embarrassed if my mother or my grandmother would see it? And is it appropriate for an employer? These 3 questions you always have to ask. If you put in your profile, make it a nice picture of yourself. Maybe you only show a headshot and the rest. Should be a smile, professional picture, not with a strange background or anything. Maybe a right background if you have. So something an employer would see first, and then list the things in what you currently study. Maybe list in all your curriculum activities which are extra, that you're playing an instrument, that you're acting in a theatre group. That kind of thing could also be good and worth mentioning. Or that you're helping at home, maybe even that you're cooking, that you like to cook for your family, that you're taking a responsibility in some way. And of course, list your work experience, which you have perhaps already, or maybe your side job with my dad, something like that. Please mention these kind of things. And then I would say, if you have an industry already at this point in mind where you would like to go into, then go on Google and Google the top 100 firms which are involved with that thing which you would like to do. After you have that list with these 100, please go back to your LinkedIn profile and link with every company which you have on that list and start following them, because that will show a massive, huge proactivity. You followed the companies already, and maybe then you got also being informed about the newest jobs they have maybe to offer, the newest apprenticeships which come out. You will see that on LinkedIn. Also put yourself out there saying maybe what you're looking for. You can make it in a small summary. Hi, my name is Julie. I'm looking for an apprenticeship in perhaps cybersecurity. I would really like to have a level 4 and achieve that by I'm also helping at home by keeping my parents' business safe from cyber attacks. I have my own Raspberry Pi, I code, and I have my own web page. Something like that, which is really relevant to this. And it's going to be really, really impressive for the employer to see that. And ask your teachers and maybe some friends to endorse you for skills you might have. You can do that on your page. There's a little endorsement for maybe your customer service skills, your IT skills, your knowledge, how you're teaching others, that kind of thing can be endorsed. Please make sure you have that on there. And if you have one teacher who's really eager and really good and likes you, please ask them to maybe make you a small recommendation as well. What an awesome employee you would be in the future. These are my tips for LinkedIn.
Oh, fantastic. That's great. Thank you, Doris. And what about for preparing for interviews and applications? Any top tips on those?
Again, make sure before you go to the interview, make sure maybe to know who you're meeting. And if you know the name of that person, of course, the night before, connect with them on LinkedIn. Have a check what this person was up to before it came to that position. So you have a bit of an understanding. We're not talking about crazy stalking here and saying them and telling everything that you have learned, everything about them, but it just gives you a bit of a feel of the person you might meet. And also, please research the company extremely carefully, what they have done, why are they doing this, how long are they existing, who's working there, what is their ethics like, their mythos, their kind of like principles they work for. That's also important. And maybe there's recent news on them as well, something like a new acquisition. For example, Computer Center recently, we acquired a new office in Canada. That's a new thing. And if you can mention things like that in your interview, that you know about that, or in your questions particularly, please prepare at least 6 meaningful questions, and please don't ask about money or holidays. Ask specific things about maybe your potential development there. What kind of courses would you get? Or who has maybe done the job before you? Why have they left? Is there somebody who can train you in? How the mentoring will be for this job? These kind of are very good questions to ask instead of money or holidays. And yeah, so the research is very important. Who you're meeting is important. Please have a look at the job description again, so that they really have an understanding and they're knowing that you know what this job really entails, because they're going to ask you how you imagine a normal day would be like. Also, if you have written in your CV things like, I'm a very hard worker or I'm very organized, please have an example ready where you have been hardworking and where have you been organized, and tell them that in the I did this, I was responsible for that story. Don't mention other people. In this case, it's really about you. So mention, I was responsible for organizing the career fair. I put the stand together. I decorated every cup. I made sure every student had their leave letter and everything was a great success. That's how you have been hardworking. Yeah, for example. It's just an example.
That's really good. Thank you. And can you share a piece of advice as a takeaway for students, perhaps about how they're able to find their right career path for them?
I think, first of all, do something you actually want to do, something you like. And don't let other people discourage you that this is not possible, or why should you do that? Why go with something easy? Your mom and dad, they have an accounting firm. Why not start there? Don't go always the easiest way. Go the way which actually feels right for you. And as I said, you can only be sure that you maybe do one of the right paths if you have already an idea in mind, if you have maybe done some work experience and some proper extensive research, if you have maybe seen a few career videos online, which are now readily available from so many different industries. Have a look at that and see if this is really what you want, because it's a difficult decision to make. And again, even if you are in 2 years' time and you've gone down the path and realize it's not the right thing for you, then have the courage and say, I'm not going to stay in for the sake of it. I'm finishing my apprenticeship, but I might move into the next thing and try something else instead. I think this is real courage to actually do what you like to do and not what other people have to tell you or what is convenient or the most easiest path. Because you will be sorry for it if you're not putting all the effort in now, down the line.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Doris. That's been really helpful. Thank you for your time. Really appreciate it.
Thank you. And all the best to all the students. And I'm sure there's going to be some great futures ahead of you. Don't worry.
I completely agree.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
So good afternoon, everyone, again. So Julie Feast here, Chief Exec of ADT, and I just thought while we're looking forward to obviously the next point in the session this afternoon is actually our live Q&A with our employers. So I thought I'd use this opportunity just while they settle into the room and get themselves settled in, ready to start live fairly imminently, is to just talk a few things with you, because we've just heard some amazing sessions, a really diverse range of different people talking about tech careers, talking about placements, and actually some of that advice that you've heard today could apply wherever. But if we start first of all with the Industrial Cadets Awards that you saw at the beginning of the afternoon session, you may be thinking to yourself, well, what is Industrial Cadets if you haven't heard of it before, and what difference does it make if you got involved with Industrial Cadets? And really what you saw there was so this time last year, we had an awards event. So normally if you have done an activity with us or with one of our partners, you'll be accredited with a particular level of Industrial Cadets. Now, in a similar way to you might have heard of Duke of Edinburgh has got bronze, silver, gold. We're very similar in that we've got 5 different levels of Industrial Cadets. So you could start at bronze, you might move then on to silver. You can continue to keep moving along. And what we're doing here is encouraging you to collect those awards, and you'll be able to use those awards to then progress and talk to your employer. Might be through an apprenticeship route, might be through a university route, but it's going to give you that opportunity to engage some more. Now, we've got a range of people who's going to join us this afternoon, and my advice would be is to think about some questions that you would like to ask them. We've got companies like Computer Centre, so Doris that gave us that great advice. We've got cybersecurity manager and also a CTO, Chief Technology Officer from Computer Centre joining us today. We've got also Chronico, a company that the guy that's joining us here today used to work in a large corporate and he's now a founder of Chronico. Jacobs, Arm, TCS, GE, Unilever, Leonardo. There's both senior people on the panel and there's also apprenticeships. So for the apprentices, think about what questions you'd want to ask them. They're in their very early days of setting into a career in cybersecurity. So what do you want to know from them? Put the questions on the chat. You can do it now while we're getting ready for the panel. So you don't need to wait until they start talking. Remember, there's never any such thing as a daft question. If you're thinking that question, somebody else will be too. So use the opportunity to get those questions.
Okay, good afternoon and welcome everybody. Welcome to this session as part of your Industrial Cadets Week. We hope that you've been enjoying the other sessions and activities you've been involved in so far this week. So as you can see, we've got a very busy panel for you this afternoon. So we've got a panel of cyber employers speaking to you this afternoon. So what we're going to do is I'm going to pass you over to them. They're going to each tell you a little bit about themselves and their jobs and what's so amazing about their jobs. And then we're going to open up for some questions and answers. So please use the Q&A function that you've got on the platform. Use this opportunity to ask any questions that you might have. You've got an amazing panel of experts in front of you here. You'll not get many opportunities like this. So please use the time. Ask your questions, anything at all that you'd like to know. After you've heard a little bit about them and about their jobs, then please take this opportunity, ask your questions, type them in, and we'll pose them to the panel for you. Okay, So I'm going to pass you over and we'll hear a little bit from each of them. So first of all, Hannah, can I pass over to you, please?
Hi, so I'm Hannah. I work at GE Aviation, where I'm a cyber investigator. I did an electronic engineering degree, and then I did an engineering grad scheme called the Edison Engineering Development Programme, which finished a few months ago. So what I really like about my job and what I found really interesting is that I'm still learning a huge amount. So like, you never stop learning in your job, like never.
Thank you. Louise, can we pass over to you now, please?
Yes, good afternoon. My name's Louise Shea. I work for Jacobs. I'm the head of cyber operations and intelligence. I've been in this position for 2 years. Previous to that, I was the Metropolitan Police Detective Chief Inspector and ran the Met Cybercrime Unit. For the last 4 years of my service, I was a career detective, predominantly in serious and organised crime. So I've stepped into this industry now. My degree is in law. It's not in engineering, but I am fortunate enough to have a fantastic job where I work across critical national infrastructure and also within the Ministry of Defence and other government departments in areas related to a lot of cyber threat intelligence and other areas where our clients need some support. The best thing about my job is that I get to meet some really interesting and different people all of the time. No one day is the same as the previous, so I find that I'm in a great position and really enjoy my position. Thank you.
Thanks, Louise. Gaynor, can we pass over to you?
Hi, yes, my name's Gaynor Rich. I'm one of the directors of cybersecurity here at Unilever. I look after strategy and strategic transformation, so I'm really looking at the future forward cybersecurity capabilities for Unilever. The things I like about my job in this space are no 2 days are the same. And it gives me an opportunity to solve many problems, but also work in an organisation that is dedicated to sustainability and positive impact on the planet and communities in that environment. My degree is in business and finance. I've previously worked in financial services and I've worked in other industries as well. So yeah, it's an adaptable career.
Thanks, Gaynor. Tom?
Hello, yeah, hi, I'm Tom Amer. I'm a cybersecurity degree apprentice at Unilever. I'm a market security analyst, which means I work with brands and each country to make sure that they are as secure as possible. So basically making sure that Ben & Jerry's can sell the best ice cream securely. That's what I love about my job, and I get to work with a huge range of diverse people every day. It's amazing.
Thanks, Tom. Colin?
Good afternoon all. So I'm Colin Williams, UK Business Line CTO for Networking and Security at a company called Computercenter. So we are one of Europe's largest resellers and system integrators for hardware, software, networking and security solutions. And what I like about my job, it is a really, really exciting job. I spend most of my days talking to our largest customers, some of the biggest brands in the UK and Europe, about their cybersecurity challenges. Your Ben & Jerry's thing is a great example. My interest is, how do they allow themselves to run a secure business to ensure they have a consumer experience that's trusted and secure? So when you have a question as long as that, it means that every answer that you get from your customers is a fantastic, exciting answer. And I put all that together and try and create themes and trends about the future and then give them ideas about what to do next. So it's a really exciting job. And almost going back to what Hannah said, I'm probably 27 years into the industry and still spend every single day scratching my head, trying to understand how I'm going to learn even more because it's never ending, but that's what makes it so exciting.
Okay, thanks, Colin. And Matt?
Hi, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Matt Milson. I also work for Computer Centre. You've got two for the price of one with me and Colin. My job title is the Cyber Defence Centre Manager. So I manage a team of currently 11 analysts on a 24/7 basis, whereby we monitor various different customer platforms, solutions, networks, etc., for essentially bad guys, and try and keep the baddies out. So we're the good guys. We are the police, if you like, from a cyber perspective. Yep, I've been in cyber now for 6 years. Been in IT for about 15 years. What do I enjoy about my job? Similar to what somebody else, I think it was Gaynor, said, no day is ever the same. It's extremely fast-paced in what we do, constantly learning and evolving my skill set, and it's kind of exciting to see what's coming next in this industry. We are a booming industry, and I think it's fair to say it's just going to continue growing. So, thank you.
Thank you. Martin?
Hi everyone, I'm Martin. I am a founder of an immersive learning company called Chronico. So at the moment I get to do strategic cybersecurity consultancy for basically for large global organizations, and also get to do cybersecurity training for lots of people as well, which is really cool. My background is actually in astrophysics, but then I was fortunate enough to be able to work in a number of different roles inside cybersecurity. So I've been a security consultant, I've been a security researcher, I've done cyber investigations, and then for many years I was the global technical director at a company called MWR Info Security, where I got to basically to be in charge of R&D and all of the services and the things that we do for our clients. So based on all of that, I think the kind of the real thing that I love about cybersecurity is the opportunities that it can provide to you, hopefully from kind of hearing a little bit about the journey I've been on. Hopefully that kind of can inspire you to see that there are lots of different places you can go to in careers in this space. And right now I get to teach other people about cybersecurity, so that's really cool.
Thank you, Martin. Ram, over to you.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. So my name is Ram Ganesh, and I work at ARM, which is an engineering company in the semiconductor industry. My background is actually in mathematics, and I then went and started working in banking, in your kind of typical banking roles, or what people mostly associate with banking and commercial banking, closing deals, blah, blah, blah. But actually one of the things I've always wanted to do is actually be a police officer, and I have a long family, list of police officers. And I just couldn't quite scratch that itch doing the banking role. So I then began to speak to some of my colleagues in what was the security department. I worked with a lot of ex-Metropolitan police officers, City of London police officers. And I did a placement there as a 6 month. Somebody took a bit of a bet on me, and I loved what I did there. And I felt I was really making a difference. And actually, I got a lot of fulfillment around what I did, which was really important to me at that time. So I kind of left the banking industry, and now I work at ARM, where I look after our Security Operations Center, which is your detection and response of cybersecurity threats, forensics threat intelligence, as well as our security technology that we use to defend us, from external threats.
Great, thanks, Ram. Tom, over to you.
Hi, good afternoon. I'm Tom Dinham. I'm a cybersecurity apprentice at a company called Leonardo MW. What I get to do on a daily basis can vary massively. I get to go through all the paces in the company. I've gone from incident response through to system architecture, and I get to see every stage where things get built, monitored, maintained, developed, even destroyed. I've been involved in that, and it's a real great challenge and something that I've enjoyed, and I got stuck in hands-on straight after my A-levels, as the apprenticeship gives me a degree, and it's a great challenge every day.
Thank you, Tom. And finally, Kunal, over to you.
Hi, thanks. So I'm Kunal Pradhan. I work as a business development manager for the cybersecurity practice in Tata Consultancy Services. So we are one of the largest IT service providers with almost 400,000 plus employees working globally for us. I work in the UK and Europe geography, working with customers to take our services to them. What I enjoy about my job is obviously helping our customers address their cybersecurity challenges, helping them to mature their cybersecurity needs, and obviously, trying to find solutions for them which help their businesses and eventually our businesses as well. The other part I love is obviously traveling that I have to do because of my job profile. So I get to visit a lot of places, explore a lot of places as I meet customers as well. So it's kind of business club pleasure for me. That's what I enjoy.
Okay, thank you. Thank you all of you for telling us a little bit about your jobs. I think one thing that came through there is how much you all love doing what you do, which is fantastic. And actually sort of related to one of the first questions that we've had come in. A student has asked, did you enjoy STEM subjects when you were at school? Does anybody want to take that question? Yeah, Tom Dinham, let's take that one first.
I wasn't always a great lover at first. It sort of came on during secondary school. I always had a bit of a thing for maths, and I always struggled in some of the other ones like all your sciences and IT, but it really came along. I had a couple of really dedicated teachers. I stayed behind after school and I started doing extracurricular stuff, and it just all sort of clicked and dropped into place just from not being massively good at them, but from having a real passion for them and having a real driving factor to go out and do my own thing with them.
No, thank you. Colin, did you have something to add there as well?
Yeah, so it's probably something that I suppose the people on the call will find valuable to hear. So I really enjoyed physics. I really enjoyed technical subjects when I was younger, but had no idea why. And one of the greatest things that you'll find in cybersecurity is it needs different types of thinkers. So if you're one of those people who thinks differently and you don't really know why, you'll probably find a home in cybersecurity, because one of the greatest things, one of the greatest assets you can bring is thinking a little bit left field. I didn't mention studies. So my academic studies, I've got an MBA. But that's business. I'm literally in the last few months of finishing a doctorate. But all of these things just show that I enjoy learning. I enjoy learning about different things. If that's you, in a way, it doesn't really matter what your path is. What you need to have is what everybody else on this call has, which is a bit of a passion. If you have a passion, then you'll find it definitely the right home for you.
No, thanks, Colin. Some great advice there. Hannah, did you want to add something to that question as well?
Yeah, I was going to say, so to kind of echo what Tom and Colin said, I always loved logic puzzles and working with my hands. I'm quite an expressive person. I really like using my hands. And then maths and physics, don't know, they just kind of fit right in my head. And that combined with like doing languages, just kind of all fit together. And so I just kind of put it together. And then at the time sort of thought engineering would be the right way. And then through a crazy career path that's been, short but a bit weird, I've ended up in cybersecurity. So you never know where your career will take you, even if it is in like, a year, 2.5 years.
Yeah, and Gaynor?
Yeah, to sort of echo what the others have said, but to build on what Colin was saying, you don't necessarily have to come through that route. So probably as a counterpoint, maybe I wasn't that, I always enjoyed science, but I probably wasn't that into maths and some of the other subjects. And you don't have to be cybersecurity space. As Colin said, it's all types of people. It's really having that curiosity. I was very interested in new technology, and I continue to enjoy that. But I look at very much the people aspects of the cybersecurity space as well, and how the technology and the business aspects and the people all come together. So there really is such a broad range of opportunities in this area that there is actually something for everybody, and it's a great area where you can build your knowledge, and almost you don't have to have a set course of that you want to go on, a direction of travel. You can really discover what is right for you as you go along, and you might find you want to specialize in a different area to where you started, really.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you very much. Right, so let's other questions. Don't forget, keep typing in your questions into the Q&A so we can put them to the panel. The next question we've had in, someone has asked, apart from studying and academic abilities, what else can they do to give themselves a bit of a boost into the world of cyber? Anybody want Martin? Want to take that one?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think some of the kind of key things you can be doing is to be generally curious about things. So kind of any kind of little projects you can do with your Raspberry Pis or anything else like that. Playing escape games, I'm a kind of big fan of that. Kind of things where you have to kind of work as part of a team, but also look at new kind of problems and kind of find ways of solving problems that you might not otherwise think of. So I think and kind of just lots of kind of little fun games and kind of things that get your brain working. I think those kind of give you a very good insight into some of the kind of the challenges that you'll face in the career, alongside some of those kind of more kind of technical and academic subjects.
Thank you, Matt. Did you have something to add there?
Yeah, just a quick thing. Similar to what Martin's saying to an extent, I think it's fair to say that you can't turn on the news or look on a media outlet nowadays without seeing something regarding the latest breach or the next hack or the various risks involved with the Internet of Things and things like that. So from my perspective, I think it's stay relevant, stay up to date, stay interested, and show just a general interest and keep up to date of things that are going on out there, because it evolves and obviously it affects our industry massively as these breaches or these hacks become more advanced. So I think that's a good bit of advice. Just keep your ear to the ground, if you like.
Yeah, thanks. Kunal, you wanting to add something as well?
Yeah, I think like the others said, I think keeping an eye on what's happening in the cybersecurity, just relevant to the news, understanding how it is getting exploited by the baddies and what all things are happening around the world. I think that definitely helps. But what also would help is, keep looking out for the different websites. Like the UK has a very good National Cybersecurity Center kind of a website where they have a lot of information on what all careers prospects are there, what all areas they can look at, because cybersecurity itself is such a vast domain. There are multiple areas that they can focus on and try to find out what is your interest, whether it is hacking, whether it is just the networking part of it, whether it is general, cybersecurity work that you would like to do. So there are areas that you will start getting into as you start looking in the cybersecurity domain as a whole, and then the specific that would interest you. Yeah. So keep looking for the sites like National Cybersecurity Center and those kind of things. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Right, move on to the next question. Someone's asked, what is the most difficult part of your job? Ram?
Yeah, I think for me, it's having to make, there's an expectation you need to make perfect decisions with imperfect information. So certainly in the cyber world, things move very quickly, very fast, and you won't have all of the answers. And actually building that confidence where you can make a split-second decision and trust yourself and your team and the experts you've got around you, and be confident enough from not just a technical perspective, but also the emotional support you need from your managers and your wider team, and accepting that you won't get it right all of the time. You hear the word about emotional resilience quite a lot in the news, and it's quite topical around mental well-being and all the rest of it. But when an incident or a major crisis really hits, it can take a toll on you and your team and the people you work with. So I think really building on some of those softer skills and not just focusing on the technical skills, which is obviously really important on given what we do, but actually there's a real focus, I think, that we need to empower our emerging talent with some of the softer skills to be resilient and to deal with imperfection, be comfortable enough to make mistakes.
Yeah, thank you. Gaynor, do you have something to add?
Yeah, I think it's important to being able to balance risk. I think that's one of the hardest things. in the industry, because there can be a tendency to security can be seen as the no police, and they shut everything down, and they can have a very negative image in the business, and you need to be able to balance risk, so you know what's right from a technology perspective, but the business is there to trade. So it's making that balance, because it's about enabling the business to do business securely. So it is making those trade-offs and having the confidence to engage. And it does come back to those softer skills, being able to talk to the business in business language that they understand, not just in the language of a technologist. So yeah, those human communication skills and business language skills. So understand the context of the business is a key area to focus on as well.
Oh, thank you. And Martin, did you have something else to add, or has it been covered?
So I was just going to echo that point, that I think the most difficult thing is being able to communicate with a wide range of people in a language that they kind of understand and kind of really kind of work with you on. So being able to have a technical conversation about the kind of details of a breach or a vulnerability or something like this, but also then being able to talk to the CEO of a business about how some of those kind of ones and zeros are actually affecting their ability of their business to operate. So I think, yeah, so I think that's the biggest challenge. It's being able to use the right language and the right style in the right situation.
Okay, thank you. We'll move on to the next questions. We've got quite a few to get through. So the next one, someone has asked how they would go about getting work experience in cybersecurity. Any advice? Anyone want, yeah, Colin, advice on that one?
So we have, as I expect most of the organisations on this screen have, various programs to get you in, placement programs, apprentice programs. We're even quite good at just allowing young individuals to come in and just understand what we do, almost in a bit of an unstructured way. And I think most organisations are probably a bit more open to that in this modern age, because everybody in this war for talent is trying to find a way of attracting the best minds into their organisation by making their organisation the best place to work. So I'd say the key thing is you've got to be the best salesperson in the world of you. This isn't a time to be passive. This is a time to knock on doors, send emails, work with programs like the program you're on now, and just make sure that you find a way of ensuring that you're visible. So organisations like mine, when we're spreading the net out to try and find people, we'll end up scooping you up. So yeah, I'd say don't be passive, shout about your strengths, and also don't feel that you have to be this super techie individual to be valuable. If you're somebody who asks a lot of whys, or you're somebody who's curious and someone who's passionate, there's a role for you, right? So don't close doors saying, I'm not like that person because they're really, really technical. Nope, doesn't apply anymore. If you've got the right passion, you've got the right energy, and you ask a lot of whys, there's probably a job for you.
Thank you. Louise, did you have something to add for that question about work experience? I don't know if your hand was up from before.
Yes, I do. I'd echo what's just been said, but depending on what area you're interested in, from my policing background, what I will say is that many forces now are bringing in cyber specials. So if you are at the age, I know this is 11 to 18, but if you're 18, there's that path as well that you can take and do some really interesting work within cybercrime units up and down the country. And I'd also say that, business now is really embracing the idea of neurodiversity. This profession does attract certain types of people as well, a very broad brush, because, cybersecurity is an ocean deep and wide. So, a lot of businesses, including Jacobs, are changing their approach to recruitment. In that, it's not now always the traditional, you will sit and have a formal interview, because we know that amazing young minds out there won't perform in that environment if they're on the spectrum or have certain characteristics about them. The likes of Google and Facebook have certainly embraced that. And I absolutely think that is the way forward, and I'm certainly a big champion of that. don't be afraid if you don't think that you fit, you know, a particular ilk as such.
Okay, thanks, Louise. And Tom, did you just Emma, did you have something to add to that one?
I mean, I think most of my points have already been said. I remember when I was in school, there was a cyber discovery challenge online. It was run by the government, and it's like a great way to just get experience without even having to go to a office to watch over someone's shoulder, but just reaching out to people you know, Googling like cybersecurity places near you. I realized that there was one near my school that I'd never known, like a cybersecurity company that I never knew was there before. But it's just all, just as people have said, just like reach out, find out what's around you, and there'll be a role somewhere that suits you.
Thank you. Okay, next question. Somebody has asked, what one skill would you say is key for your role? You have to choose just one that makes you good at your job. Tom,
if there's one that instantly springs to mind, it's just having logical thinking or having a different way of thinking. Why has someone done this? When you're doing investigations or where you're trying to look at something, you want to be able to get into the mindset, perhaps an attacker or a hacker. Why have they done this? Why has this happened? Or if you're trying to set something up or come up with something different, you might think, well, why would we do that when we could do it this way? You need to have not everyone needs the same way of thinking, because if everyone thought the same way, it'd just be a straightforward blanket approach. You need that different way of thinking, so it blocks people and it brings about new technologies, new skills, new developments that the industry needs.
Thank you. Hannah?
I'd say communication, so being able to ask questions, being able to talk to others, being able to present your findings, just all of that kind of comes under the whole communication, or even, you know, sending an email. You know, it sounds really basic, but you don't kind of understand how important it is until you need to do it on a regular basis.
Okay, thank you. Martin, do you have something different to add to that?
So I was just going to echo problem solving, the ability to kind of encounter a new situation and kind of think and kind of work your way around it. I think to me that's in all the roles that I've been in the industry, and now kind of in my current role, I think that's the most important thing for me.
Okay, thank you. We'll move on to the next question. It's a question from a teacher who said that all the job titles sound really exciting. You've all got, you know, really amazing roles, and cyber's changing, as you said, it's changing all the time and evolving. How do teachers make this sound exciting for young people rather than daunting? Yeah, Gaynor?
Well, personally, I think it is already very exciting, but I know how it could seem daunting, because it is. I mean, if you look at all the movies that are around today and things that are going on in the world, it runs through everything that is going on. So it's very much part of our modern world, and almost anything you would go into now, any company would have a cybersecurity department. You know, whether they're in a gaming environment or making soup and soap like we are, you know, that all of those companies have those things. It's a growing industry, and there is a lot of opportunity from the sort of lowest entry level job right the way through to the sort of senior executive level. So there is a really strong career path for it. And as I said, it's not like you go in, you've got to get a specific qualification to get entry into this environment, because already the panel have got many different qualifications and different backgrounds. You can join it almost at any point throughout your career. And it's something you can then chart your course into. You might not necessarily want to be into deep forensics and deep technical analysis. You might be more on the culture and education and change agenda. There's sort of structured project management aspects to it. There's all different opportunities to grow and develop. But at the apprentice level, I'm sure Tom and both Toms will tell you that you know, they had opportunity to experience lots of different aspects of the business. And even if you come into cybersecurity and felt that that wasn't right for you, it's a good entry level into any other part of the business, because you could move into some of the legal areas, even into the operational areas, because having a good understanding of how to protect the business is a good, at any business, is a good entry level for any other role, really. So it's, yeah, a world of opportunity, I would say, rather than something that's daunting.
Yeah, thank you. Matt, did you have something to add to that?
Yeah, very quickly. Gain has kind of stole a lot of what I was going to say. Thank you very much. It is a booming industry. You know, I was lucky enough to jump on this wave 6 years ago. I think that was very, very good timing. Some may say fortunate timing as to when I jumped on. There's apparently, if you believe what you read, a massive skills shortage as well. So, you know, the industry is crying out for people. Just to give you an idea as to how we started in Computer Centre sort of 5 years ago, when we started on this journey of building the team that I now have, we didn't employ one of the team members with they had any kind of cyber experience. We just looked for interest, motivation, passion in cyber, and since then we've invested heavily in these guys to become now what we have, a very strong and technical team. We have a lot of different skill sets within there, but yeah, I think it's an exciting industry for various reasons. But yeah, the main word I think is booming or growing, you know, and it's only going to keep going. It is probably one of the most, pardon the pun, secure sort of industries within IT that we can have at the moment for job security. So I'll take that pun and I'll go back on mute.
Thank you, Matt. The next question, somebody said, somebody mentioned, I think it might have been you, Kunal, mentioned that you travel a lot in your role, and they've asked, do you get to travel? Do the others get to travel in your roles? Yeah, seems to be a few heads nodding there, Martin.
Yes, so particularly when you work in consultancy, you and obviously and some other roles as well. But as a consultant, I got to travel around and visit many of the kind of the top brand names that you guys all know about, and work for them, both in the UK and around the world. So if you're interested in travel, then certainly there are plenty of opportunities within this industry that will kind of help you achieve that.
Thank you, Colin.
I think in the current climate, we're probably not doing much travel. But yeah, I mean, previously, just to show how crazy the environment is. So I counted, I've been to America 37 times, which is crazy. And across the world, so many times I've lost count. Because it's a role that spans the world. I'm networking and security, but it spans the world because everyone everywhere needs to be secure by design and secure by default somehow. And many of the people on this call spend most of their waking days trying to ensure that we are safe and can trust the world that we engage in. So yeah, it does span an awful lot of travel, but the only thing I'll temper is mindful of 2020. Some parts of that may well change in the future.
Thank you. Louise, did you have something different to add?
Yeah, I would say that I've done lots of travel with Jacobs, and previously in my role in the Met Police, spent time across Europe and the States. And as well as it's not just consultancy that will enable you to travel, but I've been to many different countries for conferences. There's some fantastic global conferences, you know, Black Hat being a classic, which is absolutely brilliant, especially as it's held in Vegas. Yeah, if you've got the travel bug, cybersecurity is definitely an area where you can scratch that itch, so to say.
Great, thank you. And the next question that we've had come in, somebody's asked, what are you most proud of in your career? Anyone have anything in one particular thing that they can pinpoint, the most proudest thing that they've done? Matt, have you got your hand up there?
It kind of links nicely onto the last question, actually. I was fortunate enough to be sent to the Philippines last August, not obviously this August, before COVID, and I was tasked with training out a soccer team for one of our customers. I spent 2 weeks over there. I've never ever been to that part of the world before. I did obviously go business class, and I did obviously stay in a 5-star hotel with a suite, all paid for by the customer, which was very nice. But no, in all seriousness, it was a very interesting challenge, very exciting, quite daunting, bearing in mind Computer Centre is sort of 20,000 strong employees nearly now, and little old me was over there representing us and you know, the coalface, if you like, of what we were trying to do. But I came back and we handed over their SOC service to them within months of me sort of training them all out. So that was quite an achievement for me personally, and I think it was quite prestigious for Computer Centre in general as well. So that's for me. Thank you, Colin, for nodding.
Tom Dinham, did you have something as well you'd like to share with us?
Yeah, so probably my greatest achievement is that in my own time, I've been learning, teaching myself, and I've been gaining certifications and different industry standard certifications. I've been doing so. Some of the ones you might hear thrown about is there's a tool called Splunk. I've taught myself a few different certifications from there. A big one is called CompTIA. I self-taught myself Security Plus. I can see a few of the guys nodding that they've heard of it before, might have it, but I self-taught and paid and did all of that in my free time, so I'm pretty proud of that.
Yeah, thank you. Ram?
Yeah, one of the things in a role I've had in my career, we once held ransom by a cyber criminal and essentially attempted to stop us from operating. And obviously, it's not just employees, there are customers, there's colleagues, there's wide range of impacts when somebody attempts to do that and goes to the media and all of that kind of stuff. You know, everything that you see in the movies kind of actually coming true. You never really envisage that it will actually happen to you anyway. And you know, we work with law enforcement, and fortunately, after many months, put the person behind bars. And obviously, as you may recall, I've always wanted to be a police officer. So for me, to be able to do this and be part of that journey was something really meaningful to me, and something I didn't think I would really be able to do. So it's nice to be able to be part of that.
Yes, good, thank you. And like you say, it sounds like your life was in a movie for a little while there. And Kunal, just over to you for the last one.
Yeah, so I think what I feel proud about all my career is just a couple of years back. I mean, I'm originally from India, and I was selected by government of India to be on a panel of advisory to build cyber capability for the Indian government, and you know how the country can build a cyber capability. So I got to be on the most prestigious kind of a panel. So that was quite a proud moment for me. But what would also, you know, make me proud is talking to all these young kids and advising them of how to make a career in cybersecurity. And if to be the cybersecurity SMEs, then that would make, I think, all of us proud that we, you know, managed to help them out.
Yeah, thank you. I think we can all thank you. You know, one, I think we've got time just for one last question before we'll have to finish. And someone's asked, if students are interested in cyber, what should their next steps be? So if they've seen this and it's piqued their interest, they think, oh, that would be great, I'd love to try and get into that world. Well, what would you advise their next steps to be? Tom, Naima, do you want to take that one then?
Yeah, I'd say try and get any experience you can, even if it's just a friend of a friend's getting like one day in their cybersecurity company just to see what they do. But look into what opportunities there are. There's loads of courses at university. There's loads of apprenticeships now. When I was looking at cybersecurity apprenticeships, I probably applied to 20 or so, just of the ones that I thought I'd like to do that. That looks cool. And I got one at Unilever. Now I've had such an amazing past 2 years, and I'm getting a degree out of it. So it's a great alternative to uni. And I don't feel it's held me back at all by choosing an apprenticeship over that. But just try and get any experience you can, because it's great talking points when you go to like interviews or anything like that.
Okay, thanks, Tom. And Colin, was there just something final to add to that?
Just a quickie, which is have a look at YouTube. I've got a 15-year-old and she spends most of her life on YouTube. What you'll find on YouTube is an amazing amount of cybersecurity videos, tuition, training aids, stories, amazing stories about the impact of cybersecurity. So if you use YouTube, and lots of young people do, just to get an appreciation of the impact of cybersecurity and how it saves the world, you'll then start to energize yourself to then know what to do next. Have a look at YouTube, you'll find an awful lot of great stuff on there.
Okay, thank you. Okay, well, we've run out of time, I'm afraid, or else we could have kept talking all afternoon. So I'd just like to say, on behalf of all the students and teachers and everybody who's joined us this afternoon, thank you very much to Hannah, Gaynor, Matt, Kunal, Tom, Louise, Colin, the other Tom, Martin and Ran. Thank you very much for your time this afternoon. It's been fantastic to hear about your careers. And thank you very much. And we'll now pass you all over to Julie. So take it from here. Thank you, Julie.
Thank you.
Thank you, Fran, and thank you to everyone on that panel. I'm sure you'll all agree that was an amazing panel of so many different experiences and so many different stories. You can learn so much from listening to the variety of different roles that they have, their pathways to get to it. So we have people from the police force, from maybe not getting into the police force, to apprentices, to going through university, and a whole host of different routes. And it just shows that really it's those core skills that people need and those that employers are interested in that could gain you a role in cybersecurity. And it goes back to that point I made earlier on in the day, that this is a great sector to work for. It's a growing sector, but it is one where you can feel you're making a social impact. So you can genuinely feel that the difference you make, and as you hear people flying all around the world to ensure that companies can be safe and secure in terms of the work that they do, and therefore their customers are safe. So I hope you've heard a lot this afternoon around different things that we could do. There's lots of different opportunities that you could do from your age upwards to moving into a cybersecurity career, or equally more broadly into a tech career. Certainly for in terms of the industrial cadets, you may have already been involved in industrial cadets before. I would say if you're interested in learning more about some of the levels of industrial cadets and the activities, have a look at our website. You'll see we've just launched last week our Insight into Universities, so formerly called Head Start and Inspire. So for year 11 to year 13 students, if you're interested to go to university, normally it would be part of a residential course, but now of course it's being run at the end of the academic year as a virtual course. You're going to get information from academics about all the variety of courses, but also from content from employers as well. So have a look on our website. That will give you an Industrial Cadets Silver accreditation. Equally, there will be a lot of work experience. You heard about that this afternoon, that there's tons of work experience opportunities out. Don't despair the fact that you can't do them face to face. Very similar to what Kieran was talking about this afternoon in terms of the placement. At the moment, a lot of these things are, if you are employed, you're working from home, but a lot of companies are building virtual work experiences. And I'd encourage you to come and join us Friday morning, where we're going to be running an employer panel on virtual work experiences, so you can hear about the opportunities that they've all got. And again, that should lead you towards a Silver Industrial Cadet award. We've just launched the IC Gold projects. They lead to a gold accreditation. And if you did decide to do a placement, some people decide, even if they're going to go through the university route, to actually do a placement before you start university rather than during university. We do organise placement students, placements with employers. If that's something that you're interested in, again, that can be accredited at platinum level. So you've got lots of opportunities still at your age to do industrial cadets at a particular level or award, to gain experience. And that's the really important thing here, is to enable you to gain experience in exactly the same way as you've heard from some other people talking today, because it will help you to get that foot in the door for your first job. The benefit you've got with cybersecurity is there has always been a massive skill shortage, so there will always be opportunities and roles and job opportunities out there for you. So my advice to you would be, if you've heard anything particularly from one of the companies, so you can play these sessions will be recorded, you can play them again once we send to you the links, or if you think there's other students that would be interested in seeing this panel, then we will send you the record so that you can show it to other people and have a bit of an investigation. So if you've heard something, say for instance from Computer Centre, you're interested to know more, take the advice of the panelists, start having a look at their website, start looking, do they do work experience, do they do placements, what opportunities are there, and start building yourself up both a LinkedIn profile and a variety of bits of information and research on companies that you might be interested in, because who knows, that might be your next work experience. So thank you again to Ismani for supporting us throughout the day today, for all the employers that have joined us, and I'll say goodbye and thank you very much for joining us. And tomorrow we've got a brilliant day lined up with GSK. GSK is a pharmaceutical company. You'll be able to hear about their work on their vaccine development, so valid at the moment in terms of the impact of COVID around us all. And there's some great opportunities to hear from some of their placement students, both in terms of their manufacturing and R&D business. So I hope you enjoy us again tomorrow. Thank you.